cut out in a moment because we're out of range. I don't know how come you're on right now, but I'll be in range in a while, maybe in about 7 minutes or something. So what did you think about this balloon flying over? That was pretty weird, eh? They've been putting these balloons around the world and nobody ever detected it until this one. So it's a beautiful day, very beautiful.
They might be attempting to figure out how our reactions are, not just where we would put military resources to react to this kind of a threat.
The back and forth on that, what would that tell you in China?
I think that this is exactly what China would want to confirm, that there would be no coherent and come together reaction, that each one of the political sides in the U.S. would be using this kind of an event or any future event as political leverage against the other party in whatever small or big P political game they want to have. That is not the unified approach that I've seen from nations like Canada or many of the nations in the EU, Australia and New Zealand, who have, regardless of political parties within, and the debate that has to go on, they have a coherent and unified approach to China. That is not absolutely. And I think that in the past, looking to the United States for leadership and are not necessarily seeing that same role. And I think that's part of what China and Russia are trying to do and establish a new order that is a little bit more to their liking. I think that Canada, by extension, is better served than they ever have before in production of the Canadian Indo-Pacific strategy and its 5 priorities, starting with promoting peace and resilience, but including trade, investing in connectivity.
So they're talking about this balloon that just went over and the reactions to it and how that will play back to China, how China will see the way that the parties deal with it.
But obviously, we'll have to respond in a different way. How the complexity of that, especially, it's so specific to China in many respects, right? Because we're not talking about trading with Russia anymore, not even close. But China is such a different market, such a significant market when it comes to trade, when it comes to climate. If you want to tackle climate change, you can't really do it without China. How difficult do you imagine it is for Canada, for the United States, for like-minded countries to navigate the complexity of that in the coming years?
So, yeah, what a great question. Obviously, diplomatic relations, economic relations, military relations, political relations will all be the elements that are at play. So all of the elements of national power to be able to have a relationship with China. Much the same that you have interpersonal relationships between, it's going to be multifaceted. So Canada, like-minded nations, the United States, the EU, are going to have to use all of their elements of national power. The leverage that China has, as you said, huge market, enormous economic power, growing, and a totalitarian regime that will flaunt or interpret international laws and just not care about national laws of other states in order to further its own benefits. I think we have to see that relationship through the lens of that is going to be a continuing problem for us. And much like Russia showing its stripes with Ukraine, I think it's going to be very long, and I don't think you have to look very far before you see these things from China as well.
It's specifically what it does with Taiwan, I imagine. Okay, I have to leave it there. Unfortunately, I'm out of time. I wish I could talk to you for much longer, but I do appreciate your insights and analysis, Retired Major General Scott Clancy. Thank you, sir.
You have a wonderful day.
You too. Retired Major General Clancy is the former Director of Operations for NORAD. Coming up this afternoon, next we're going to have a Have Your Say segment, our new twice a week segment. Today on
afternoon and quite a mild high of +3. This evening, -2.
It's +5
and
here.
cloudy. Overnight, clear and down to -7. Tomorrow is looking like cloudy, a chance of mixed precipitation and 0 degrees. And Friday is a chance of flurries or rain and +3. In the CTV Weather Center, I'm Callum Fraser.
Would you like to move in quick, move in soon, or move in later? With Mattamy Homes, you have the flexibility to choose your move on a brand new home that fits your timeline, your budget, and your dreams. Choose from a stylish selection of detached homes, townhomes, and village homes in a variety of thoughtfully planned communities across Ottawa. Visit mattamyhomes.com/choose your move to explore your options and find a dream home that's ready when you are.
This season, get the hottest deals for the coldest streets. Only at Streetswear Kids. Zip up for a better night's sleep on the street with the pavement parka. Step on broken glass and needles with Kevlar kicks. Panhandle in a cashless society with the Taffy Teddy. Now for 20% off. Because the truth is, 20% of Canadians facing homelessness are youth. This collection doesn't exist. Neither should youth homelessness. Buy a toque at raisingtheroof.org and help end youth homelessness.
Denied long-term disability? If the insurance company invites you to appeal, remember, the truth is that appeals can often trap you and run out the clock on your rights. There is a much more powerful option to get the compensation you deserve. Go to disabilityrights.ca and get disability lawyer Savannah Margan in your corner. Discover what the insurance companies don't want you to know and how Savannah can force them to pay what you are owed. disabilityrights.ca.
The cost of just about everything has gone up. Luckily, the equity in your home has gone up too. But can you tap into it when you need it most? With a significant increase in qualifying interest rates, your bank said no. Advanced Mortgage Investment Corporation works with local mortgage agents and not only understands the ongoing real estate market, they understand you. It's time to get your mortgage approved. One call could be a game changer. 632-740-0055 or online at advancedmic.com.
Searching online for questions about your health isn't always healthy. You look up something simple like, why do I keep getting eczema? And whoosh, you're hurtling through an internet rabbit hole. 6 hours later, you've poured through every single online message board dedicated to every skin condition that's ever existed. Or you could just talk to a pharmacist. Stop going down in that rabbit hole and start connecting to care. Visit ontario.ca/yourhealth to find pharmacists, nurses, and answers, and see all the ways we're helping you connect to care. Paid for by the Government of Ontario.
57 on CTV. Chiefs, Eagles. With the Apple Music Super Bowl halftime show featuring Rihanna.
The pharmacies now in Ontario are, they can give you prescriptions now. There's like 10 or 12 things that you don't have to go to the doctor for anymore. That'll be good for the doctor's load. A lot of people don't have a doctor. So there's a brain drain. A lot of them go down to the States where they can charge exorbitant amounts. So they get trained here. I like Jan Art.
My very own. We've got new episodes for you every week with special guests, hot takes, popular and some unpopular.
Should I make podcasts? And if I did make podcasts, what should they be about?
Wherever you get your podcast.
I wonder how you make a podcast. It's just a video or is it a talking? I guess it's just talking.
This is News Talk 580 CMRA. EA Sports NHL 23 World Championship.
Sometimes I have nothing to say at all.
More tournaments.
I'm just driving.
More chances to win than ever before. Test your skills playing EA Sports.
I'm going to drop all this stuff off for Scarlett. I have a jar and I have a fleece and I have all this carded wool.
Win a trip to NHL events and compete for a share of $150,000. Register now and get all the details at NHL.com/NHL23.
This Valentine's Day, Chocolate Battery invites you not to get fooled by an, oh no honey, I don't want anything, because we always expect a little something. Buy the best Valentine's Day gift at your local Chocolate Battery or on chocolatebattery.com.
lot of meltage going on out there.
To join in on the
Guess you can't see it.
conversation, text us now at 71010 or call 1-855-633-1010. Now more with Bashing Capellos on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
10 minutes before the top of the hour, it's Wednesday, February 8th, and it is time to have your say. Hello.
I'm just calling to say I just want to get right to the point.
I just wanted to say, have your say. And today, what I'm hoping you're going to have your say on is this big, finally arrived at healthcare proposal from the federal government, from the Prime Minister to the premiers, that didn't end up turning out exactly like the premiers thought it would. They were hoping for $28 million extra a year, and instead they're getting somewhere in the neighborhood of anywhere from 2.9 to 5.1. So not the greatest exercise in compare and contrast if you're the premiers, and the Prime Minister has indicated that basically this is almost a take it or leave it deal. So I'd love for you to let me know what you think about that, if you think it's going to fix, if you think this arrangement is going to fix the problems in healthcare that you would like to see addressed. So you heard the numbers there. I'm going to repeat them. I'd love to hear from you. You can call me 1-855-633-1010, or you can text me.
It's quite inspiring when it's above freezing, you know.
One listener writes
Not sure
in, the health
exactly
money
why,
ended up
but
being a fiasco. The feds will waste millions on gun buybacks and poor decisions on stifling oil and gas industries. Another listener writes, health deal, nothing I needed to hear was in yesterday's announcement. Can my health records not be exposed to an internet connection? I don't know. So I don't need any, even though I do. Test your IQ past easier. I'm not sure the specifics of that alludes to, but a big part of basically what the provinces would need to do to access any of the additional money that the feds are offering involves data sharing. So basically everyone's going to have to give a lot more data on health outcomes, wait times, all that kind of stuff. Figure out kind of where every province sits and what you can expect if it means how long you have to wait for your hip to get a surgery on that, or to sit in the ER in a given province. So that's kind of what the agreement entails. Apparently, the federal health minister, Jean-Yves Duclos, is also saying that he's going to send every province a letter basically saying, are you going to take this deal or not? So again, it's not really a negotiation, more of a presentation of here's what we want, take it. Joe writes in, it doesn't matter how much money is provided unless we fix the way healthcare is delivered. And to be fair, a lot of premiers were saying that this isn't all about money. The federal government, too, isn't just about money.
okay, I'll just put in some gas.
The interesting part of this looking forward is the devil in the details of how all those bilateral deals with provinces are worked out and what it will tangibly mean for all of us who have to deal with the healthcare system. Will it actually mean shorter wait times? Will it mean more family doctors? Those details, I think, are really salient to all of us and are still to be worked out through what the federal government is calling bilateral deals. And they want to negotiate those deals in the coming weeks, the Prime Minister said, not months. Another listener writes in, no Ontarians trust Doug Ford to spend federal health care money. He was not delivering in long-term care homes and will surely weaken our public system while enriching private clinics and the lobbyists that support Ontario up for sale politics. I will say there was one line in this agreement that talked about upholding the Canada Health Act, but the federal government has not been critical of the plan proposed by Ontario's Premier Doug Ford, who maintains that the use of those private clinics to address the surgical backlog will be paid for through the single-payer system. So he uses the line like you won't use your credit card. And it sounds like the federal government is going to accept that premise and is not going to be withholding any kind of funds. But certainly concerns have been raised about going beyond what Doug Ford has proposed so far. Another listener says the money shouldn't go to... I don't understand that text, or I was starting to read it, I don't get it. So I'm going to pause, see if maybe there's a few typos there. Diane writes, they make me laugh. Conservatives complain that the government spends too much money, but they keep asking for more money for health transfers when conservative provinces are in surplus and spend money on stupid stuff. Inflation is, it will be over in a year. Grow up, ministers. And that's from Diane in Ottawa. I want to play it right actually. How the conservatives are today because Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the party, on his way into his caucus this morning, did comment on the agreement and said he would uphold it. But
obviously, the Conservative government led by myself will keep in place these additional sums and honor the commitments made yesterday. But we regret that the Prime Minister broke the federal budget and wasted so much money that he now cannot come to the table and help relieve the suffering in our emergency rooms and on our wait lines.
so the argument from the leader of the Conservatives is that he would keep the deals but actually provide more, the federal government should be able to provide more money to provinces. But his criticism is that they would extend over the years and therefore don't have that money. Of course, the Liberals report to that, counter to that is 27, which is not. We'll save that discussion for another round of our panels and interviews in the future. Your text keep coming in and please keep them coming in. 71010. What do you think of the healthcare deal proposed? Will it make a difference to healthcare? You can call me 1-855-633-1010 as well. Carol writes in, glad Feds didn't give what they wanted. How about the provinces prove they can make significant changes to healthcare? Then we can talk further. That's Carol. The Feds did, she's right, they did provide a lot less than what the provinces had asked for. They are providing, or willing to provide, $46 billion in new funding. That's spread out over 10 years. I mentioned that will be negotiated province by province in the coming weeks. And then $17 billion approximately of that new pile of money is for an increase of 5% each year, which is what the provinces had asked for. So they got part of what they asked for, to what's known as the Canada Health Transfer. When you divide that up, though, and you look at all the provinces, it's basically $4.9 billion initially, and then, gets as high as over 5, but as low as $2.9 billion. So, as I've been saying, like, if you compare that to what the provinces had asked for, it's
$53 to fill the tank. That's a lot of money, but it's what it takes. Oh well.
Which I think Blaine Hayes, the Premier of New Brunswick, told me last night. Have a listen to what he said.
I was expecting to share about more in the sense of, I guess it is what it is.
It is what it is. So Blaine is not prepared to fight them for the Prime Minister. He did an interview with me. He basically said, I didn't get any indication that there was going to be a negotiation.
full forecast is coming up. First, your top stories.
Top stories, here we go.
2 children are confirmed dead in Quebec after a city bus crashed into a daycare north of Montreal this morning. Emergency Services says 6 people remain in hospital with critical injuries. It is unclear how many of them are children right now. Laval Mayor Stéphane Boyer says there are no words to describe this tragedy.
We're still gathering all the information. There will be an investigation.
There's a big tree branch down.
Police have arrested the driver of the bus. A 51-year-old man is facing homicide and dangerous driving charges. Ottawa City Council has pushed through the Transportation Committee's recommendation to reopen Wellington Street, while greater discussions with the federal government continue about the future of the road. Barriers will be removed until March at the earliest. Somerset Councillor Ariel Foster says she's heard concerns from multiple groups about the state of the street, and that goes beyond pedestrians and cyclists who don't want to see cars return to Wellington at all.
I have residents who are cyclists and pedestrians themselves in the north part of Centertown that are seeing really negative traffic impacts, including threats to pedestrian safety on Bay Street, near Laurier, and where there's like huge bird towers. I'm also hearing people need to drive around to Quebec to get back through into certain parts of the neighborhood, which is problematic.
Recommendations include having a temporary and protected bike lane. Road work needs to be done to allow vehicles to return. Ontario's Premier and Health Ministers say the province will accept any new spending and investments on healthcare from the federal government, but they are concerned about funding timelines. The federal government presented an offer on Tuesday to the provinces and territories for an additional $17 billion over 10 years in increases to the Canada Health Transfer. It's far less than the 3 years it wanted. Health Minister Cynthia Jones said.
When deals come from the federal government in 10 and 5-year increments, it makes it very challenging. Whether you're looking at new medical schools, new residency positions, training and hiring new nurses, those are all things that take literally decades.
Jones and Premier Doug Ford are set to meet Thursday in Toronto with federal health minister Jean-Yves Le. And Turkey's leader is declaring a 3-month state of emergency in the southern part of the country after 7.8 magnitude earthquake devastated 10 provinces. ABC's Jordana Miller has the story.
The death toll from Monday's powerful earthquake now tops 11,000 across Turkey and Syria. Local and international rescue teams fighting to find survivors, fighting the bitter cold, fighting to reach areas over damaged roads, fighting the rubble with their own hands. Heavy equipment is in short supply. There are flashes of triumph. Polish rescuers in the Turkish city of Bezmi pulling 2 children and both their parents out alive. But with 6,000 collapsed buildings in Turkey and 3,000 more in Syria, far too many may be trapped, not be found in time. Jordana Miller, ABC News, Jerusalem.
In-depth coverage, audio, video, and more at cfra.com and ctvnewsottawa.ca. From the CTV Weather Center, a mix of sun and clouds this afternoon. What a mild high of +3. This evening, -2 and partly cloudy. Overnight, clear and down to -7. Tomorrow is looking like cloudy, a chance of mixed precipitation and 0. And Friday is a chance of flurries and rain and +3. Right now in the capital, +3. That is the latest from the CTV News.
So I have an opinion about this in Turkey. So 11,000 buildings have been demolished, and they say there's 11,000 casualties at the moment. I would venture to say there was a minimum of 100 people in each building. Now that was my road. Some were office buildings, but for the most part, they were apartment buildings, 10 stories high. How many people live on one floor? It was in the middle of the night. Everybody was home. Everybody in all those 11,000 buildings were home. So if half of them were apartment buildings, and the other half were offices or whatever, if half of them, if there were only 5,000 buildings that were demolished with 100 people in each building, a minimum of 100, right? There's probably more like 1,000, but there might, let's just say 100 to keep it simple. 5,000 times 100 is 50,000 people dead. You know, this is not gonna These numbers are going to get enormous. And that's only if half of them have a low 100 people in them. So a family of 5, most people in those areas have families of 5. Let's say if they had 4 people in a family, well, if they have 5 in a family, and on one floor, maybe you'd have 4 apartments, say, a minimum, right? So you've got 4 apartments, 5 people each, so 20 people on each floor. So 20 times 10, they were 10-story apartment buildings, so 20 times 10 is 200. I think my road is up here. Oh, that wasn't my road back there. Alright, let's take the next road. I think it'll be easier. Is that right? So if you had only 200, so for every 4 buildings you'd have 100. No, every 5 buildings. And the buildings had cement floors, so the cement fell and it pancaked, but maybe there were pockets in between the pancakes, you know, where the beams or the pillars fell. You know, if there were cement pillars or something. So one woman, a pregnant woman, gave birth while she was unconscious. And the baby, of course, was still attached to the umbilical cord, and the baby was alive. The mother was, I suppose everybody has heard this around the world. But isn't that amazing? Now, the umbilical cord, which keeps the baby alive, was not pumping. The heartbeat of the mother was no longer nourishing the baby, but very interesting. Very interesting. This poor child. They're so happy when they save a child. But without a whole family, it's such a hard life ahead. We have here a snowplow. I hope we can pass each other here safely. The roads have already been done. They're nice and smooth. Yeah, this part right ahead is where it's usually the worst, because as it starts to thaw and you go through a little puddle of moisture, the moisture splashes and some of the little pebbles splash away, and so you end up with potholes. Many, many, many potholes. You know, I'm kind of excited about the prospect of harvesting willow. I am. And I'm interested in digging up cattails. This could be very difficult because when you're digging, you have to cut through the lift, and you've got water on top. So the water is creating a suction and not letting you dig it up. So it sounds like it's going to be a great idea to harvest cattail roots. But I don't know if it's going to be so easy or not. When you go outside, notice in the bushes where the bird's nests are. Bush, but looks like one person is there. Grooves in the road. Right here and see what you said. Hemel Ahmed, hi, and Arfan Talukder. Pageda, how are you? Like, beautiful you, Kanti, my country, Bangladesh, you life okay. So you're from Bangladesh? Welcome. Hello, hello. I hope you're not getting flooded out of your home, having to move. Everybody in all places are going to end up having to move if you can. But the fact that you have internet says good things about your life. You have a cell phone or the internet, or do you go to the public library? I used to love going to the library when I was young. My mother would drop me off at the library on Saturdays. I would spend the day. I would go through all these, there was periodical indexes, and so you could look up any subject and you could find out all the articles that had been written about that subject. And it wasn't screened by Google, so you didn't only get the ones that were suitable for them to show you. You got everything. But you know, there are other search engines than Google. There's Dogpile and Yahoo. I didn't used to like Yahoo. Yahoo was much bigger than Google. And I liked Google. It was the underdog, you know, and I always go for the underdog. All right, this driveway looks pretty clean. Wow, it's pretty here. I could just walk in. Well, looks like there are other people here. Might be a day of construction. I always have a hard time turning around up here. All right, so maybe I could just drive right in. I don't know, I saw somebody, but that was a few minutes ago. All right, so we'll say goodbye now, and I shall go explore and find my daughter. Bye-bye.